Good afternoon, class. Welcome to this session of International Business Environment. In our last session, we were discussing regarding foreign direct investment, and in particular, we had discussed regarding joint ventures, um, and we were discussing regarding mergers and acquisition, or what we call as cross-border acquisition. Now, speaking regarding merger and acquisition or cross-border acquisition, uh, we had discussed what it really is. Okay. Now, under merger and acquisition, what happens? In merger, two of the companies will decide that they would anymore doing the business under one name. So under merger, whatever company was existing earlier would come and join, and they would start doing business under a new name. Now in acquisition, what happens is the companies, they will, might be one company is a little bit not that good in the market, or might be the other company wants to take up which is existing in the market. During that time, acquisition will happen. After acquisition, one company would be acquire the stakes of another company. Stakes of under that, what happens is uh, one of the company would be taking over another company. Now, not that every time the acquisition would be wished by the one company which is, being taken over. There are also chances that what is called as hostile takeover can also happen. In hostile takeover, what happens is the company which is being taken over might not be willing to be taken over, but using the shares or by buying the shares of the company, the company which intends to buy would be taking over the targeted company in a very bad way. So that is regarding hostile takeover. Okay, and we had also discussed why this merger and acquisition especially happens. The first one is so that the gaps. Okay, you can take down the reasons why merger and acquisition happens. Now, first reason is that usually to fill the gap. Now, the gaps can be in, management, or it can be in any of the resource or process technology. Gaps in the sense the company might be having the ability to do the things, but it might not be having the resources. So usually under mergers or acquisition, what happens when it is friendly merger or acquisition to fill up this gap. The example we had come regarding Hero and Honda. The same thing can be taken here also. So whatever the demerits or whatever a little bit of disadvantage or weakness is this one company, it would filled by the other company's strength. Now, this merger and acquisition, it seems simple, but even then there are some of the differences. So probably you can take down the differences. See to that you try to understand, make a point as to what is the difference, and later on you should be able to explain the difference. Okay. Now that you are in the final year of your master, you'll have to be like master, not degree students. Okay. Notes as short as possible, but then those short words should help you to explain everything. Okay. So, what can be the definition of merger? So, let's now see the difference between merger and acquisition. What can be the definition or the meaning as we tell? Okay, what is that? Okay, that definitely both are there. You know, two companies minimum we require, but in what terms they might be different. The one thing you should remember is minimum of two companies is very much necessary, whether it is merger or acquisition. But in merger, what happens is the two or more companies, usually which would be of similar size capacity, they consolidate or come together to operate in operation also and finance also. And they come together as a new company. Okay, to tell in terms of example, there is company B. They come together, they consolidate with each other. Anymore, there is no existence either A company or B company. Anymore would be called as AB company. Yes, Maruti Suzuki. Okay, that is merger. So, what is acquisition? Usually, under acquisition, yes, fine. One company would be taking over other company. Usually, there would be no new company that is being started. Maybe the example we can take in Facebook, what your Instagram, your WhatsApp, right? Maybe the name of the applications are there, but they are all under now Facebook. Okay, usually that is acquisition, but then there are also chances that hostile takeover can happen. Under hostile takeover, what happens is without the targeted company, the acquiring company would be buying all the shares of targeted company. In some movies, you have seen such incidents where without the willingness of the company, another company would be taking over. Okay. Now, to further extend or to further speak about difference, under merger, what happens is that there would be conformity from both the parties under merger. Or in other words, both the parties would be agree that they would consolidate and their business interest would be mutual for one another. They are merging. Maybe it is profit, maybe it is loss. They are agreeing that they would be equal. To what extent they have agreed on, that extent they will share either be it profit, either be it loss, or anything that is in the market. But usually under acquisition, what happens? Yes, that is the meaning under, to be very specific, under hostile takeover, what happens? According to the willingness of the target company, all the things would happen. Yes. Now it is, you should also remember that now always it is hostile takeover. Okay. There are chances that I buy the company. Fine. Maybe the other company is also willing to sell it. Then it is just acquisition. Yes. Okay. Now, usually buying or selling, what happens under mergers and acquisition is operationally all the work that is being done would continue. Now, WhatsApp might have bought by Facebook, but whether there was any day, any minute that WhatsApp service were out, no, right? So usually merger and acquisition or happens in form of shares. Okay, the work would be continuously going on. Okay, when I buy the shares of other company or when two company gets consolidated, they'll be consolidating in terms of the shares. Okay, the equity shares, the owners would be changing. Okay, under merger what happens now? Those who are willing to buy the shares, they would be issued with the new shares. Okay, now there might be equity shareholders of A company, there will be equity shareholders of B company. Now what happens when it decides to merge is that now the equity shareholders of both companies separately, A and B, they would be surrender their equities to the company. Once the new company is started, they would be issued with the same amount of equity shares. The name would be AB company. So the new shares would be issued on receiving or on submitting of the earlier share. But under acquisition, what happens? The stocks or the shares of the target company would be bought by the acquiring company. So anymore now it is A and B. If B is taking over A company, anymore there don't be any shares of A company. There exists only the shares of company B. Okay. Now, to tell once again, merger, acquisition, all these things, they might not specifically ask for you exams, but having the knowledge of all these things becomes very, very important. Now, all of a sudden, someone might ask you, what is the difference between merger and acquisition? Okay, all that things becomes important then. Okay. Now, one more thing that we can understand in terms of differences regarding the strength. Okay. Strength of the company, maybe in terms of operational strength, maybe in terms of financial strength. Usually under merger, what happens is the merging between the equal strengths happen. That is to tell, maybe the Maruti and Suzuki. Also, they might be equal in terms of their operational capacity and also in terms of their financial capacity. Under acquisition, what happens is the company which acquires usually would be financially stronger the targeted company. Okay, that is what happens under acquisition. Okay. It is termed that if we have to specifically mention regarding differences, merge is usually a friendly association. Okay. So it being a friendly association, sharing cost, profits, and losses with a partnering entity, usually there wouldn't be any of the problem. Under acquisition, at all the acquisition is a forceful association. Okay, then there are chance that there might be gobbling of operations of the weaker company by the other company. That is to tell, now under merge what happens is both of them agree. The operations would be going on, but under acquisition, if at all it is a hostile takeover or it need not be a hostile takeover, most of the time operations of the weaker company would be changed into that of richer company or the stronger company. Okay. Now regarding the output, okay, usually under merger what happens, it would be a, or it yields a synergetic output. Now what do you mean by synergic? Synergy is nothing but whole is always greater than each of the parts differently. Okay, that is in simple words what synergy means. Now that is to tell, maybe if I give a case study to your class, okay? Now maybe case study for individual I give, other one might be for groups, okay? Now when you sit and work, according to synergy, the result of single unit would be, lesser compared to that of a group together, or the whole is bigger than if the unit separate. Okay. Having said this, so much is enough for merger and acquisition. The third type of FDI happens under franchising. So what is this franchising? Can anyone give an example of franchising? Any franchising? Nandini? Okay. Yes, fine. Nandini, Amul. Than that, usually franchising, you see, Nandini, what happens is production would be done by them, especially. But to speak regarding franchising, yes, your KFC, your Domino's, because even the production would be done by each of them separate, right? For example, you might have this buns and balloon just because are there, but production happens differently. Here they would be just reselling it. Okay, I have the name. So what is that? We shall try to understand later. Now, franchising, no, usually it is a business arrangement where the one firm grants the right or privileges to another entity to sell its trade products and services in a specific location. That is to tell, now when franchising happens, the area is defined. Okay, the rights are given and what things could be sold. Not only that, one main thing we should remember is all these privileges, all these rights would be given for a consideration we call as fee. Okay, they might have seen many Pizza Huts. Okay, they would give a trade recipe. They would give name of the company. They will tell what is the menu to do it, where from to get the ingredients, or maybe they themselves provide. But then the one who has taken this rights, they'll have to pay back a fee. After paying fee, whatever remains would be the profit for one who has got the franchise. Fine? Yes. Now example can be your KFC, Pizza Hut, McDonald's. Okay? Asking about restaurants, it can be bed hotels, holiday inn. To speak lodgings, it can be, yes, under lodgings it could be holiday inn. For that matter, when you speak reading, you could be also there. The lack loans may be fine. Now your lens card, everything comes there. Now these were situated all over, but the owners would not be, I mean the owner of the name would be the people who actually bought the shares, but then these people have the right to resell the products under the name. Okay, or in other words we can tell that they are paying this fee for the name that they have taken or the goodwill, right? maybe I can start, a outlet which maybe can provide better quality of food than that KFC or Pizza Hut for that matter. Then because the name is there, people would tend to come. Now, at last, when you are in market, all these things which matters to what extent you can do the deals. Okay, the theory would be very different. The practical of market works is very much different. In theory, do we any time speak regarding the trust? Do we any time speak in the word of mouth? Well, but usually how it happens in business. Whom I know, whom I trust, if they ask, I tend to give more. Yes, the trust is very much potent in the market. And it goes through the word of mouth. Okay, he can provide better facilities. Now, theory never speaks of that. Yes, so you know it works theoretically, what you have to write in the paper, and tomorrow when you go out, how actually market works. Now, this might be important for your question. All theory is important when you attend interview, but how the market works is also very much important. One thing, some of you might the idea like, okay, I do not have, I will do the interview well. Okay, that is, I can get through. But please don't be in that illusion. Okay, because for one post might be thousands of them apply, might lakhs of them apply. So the first criteria they would be having is your marks itself. So if there are 10,000 people, they want only 1,000. What do they see? It is yours. So now does the marks matter? It really matters. Once after you get inside the interview, how you present yourself is really going to matter. But in the first, it is your marks which matters a lot. Be it academic, be it in the market, because the competition is severe. Given the face of COVID, might be it is extremely severe now. Okay? Yes. Okay. Now speaking about this franchising arrangements, there are two kinds. Okay. One is what we call as direct unit or single unit franchising. Other one is called as multi-unit franchising. Okay, under single unit or direct unit, as the name suggests, usually the franchisee, okay, the one who is being given with the right is called as franchisee. The one who gives the right is franchisor. Now, the franchisee would be given with right only to open one single unit for one specified area. But our multi franchise, what happens is usually when the franchisee can successfully handle the single unit, they might be given with the right to obtain more than one unit or one outlet in one specified area. Okay. Now under multi-franchise, there are again two types. One is area development franchise, other one is master franchise. Okay. So under multi-franchise, same as multi-franchise, the franchisee would be given with the right to open more than one particular unit, one specified area for a particular time period. Under master franchise, what happens is it is being called as advanced form of multi-franchise. Here, franchisee would be given with the right to not only open or operate, but you know they are also right to sell more number such maybe their shop or anything to other people wherein business could be developed. Now that is to tell under master is what happens is you might have taken a direct order from the penny itself. But a master franchise, you might be given the right to resell it. Now, the person to whom you are selling, they would not actually have a contract with the main franchise, but they would have a contract with you. Understood? Now, this see what is franchise, knowing that becomes important here. The rest is only for your permission. Okay. Now the next one we have here is greenfield and brownfield investment. Now all those things, if we remember, we had discussed under mode of entry to foreign business in second chapter. Okay. Now we can take information from there also, from here also. Okay. Modes of entry is little how you can enter into the new market. Now these are the ways you can enter, right? When you go and start business in some other country, definitely all serves as modes of entry. FDI is also the same. When you go, you cannot invest directly without the permission. When the government gives some kind of proportion under the FDI, only then can you go and start the business. So for FDI also it is the same. Now speaking regarding greenfield and brownfield investment, we had spoken regarding greenfield investment. What happens under greenfield investment? Now under greenfield investment, what happens is in the foreign market or in the market which you have now decided to start, the business would be started from scratch or ground zero. Okay, maybe recent one example you can take is of Kia Motors, right? Now it is a foreign company. There was no nothing zero that particular company here in India. But maybe before 3 or 4 years, they came to India. They have started doing everything. They have started to sell their vehicles also here. Yes, they started from scratch. But whereas Maruti, what happened when we take example of Zuki? They did not start from the scratch. They merged along with some other company and started doing the business. So under greenfield investment, what happens is a company which tends to start the business, they are going to start their business from the scratch, right from buying the land, okay, building, starting their business and starting their operational activity. Everything would be started from themselves, okay. They would go for anything which is existing. So if it is that greenfield investment, brownfield investment, here the investment would happen with parent usually they do not start from scratch. Instead, they adopt an alternative method wherein they purchase what is already existing. Okay, because whether be it is purchasing, whether be it is starting from ground zero, now each of this kind will have its own merits, its own demerits. Okay, now when it is starting from ground zero, expenses would be huge, but they once they invest, later on whatever it is there, it is for the company. But when they go in for partnership or when they go in for buying from many others, also would be some expenses. But compared to this, the earlier preliminary expenses might be less, but later on the expense might start increasing. So what is before the company, they have to first analyze, then later on they have to decide whether they are going for greenfield investment or brownfield investment. Yes. The next one or the last one under FDI we can see is licensing. So we have already said this franchising. So what might be this license? And have I spoken regarding difference between copyrights, patents, and intellectual property rights? See, now all those things are general knowledge, okay? Whether you study MBAH or not, whether you have a subject or not, whether it is there in syllabus or not. Knowing the difference, all these things or that matter, your life, intellectual property right is very much important nowadays. Now, nobody is going to ask you what happened in Hawthorne experiment. Maybe ask in one sentence, not for that extent. Why? Because it happened a century ago. You know what is happening currently. Now, the entire world is all about intellectual properties, right? So, you should always know what is patents, what is copyright, what are these intellectual property rights. Having said, what might be this licensing? See, whenever you hear the term license, it simply tells somebody is having permission over something. Now, what is the term given for? Knowing that is would let you know the meaning of license. Yes, there would be minimum of two parties. One is licensor who sells license, would be licensee who would be purchasing the license. So definitely when sell and buy is going on, something has to be given in the form fees. Under licensing, we call it as royalty. Yes, that is there. So what happens? For what the permission would be given? Usually, the right would be given or the permission would be given to use the property of the licensor. Okay, the property I have. When a licensee buys my licensing, I would be giving him the right to use my property. Never in the lifetime of the agreement, the property would be his, but only that he would be having license to use it for certain time period. Now, when we tell time period, it is according to the agreement, what they have been in. Okay, and that would be done from consolidation. Okay. Now speaking regarding the property here can be anything. Okay. Right from a very delicate information. From that, it could be a process, it could be a technology, it could be patent, could be trademark, it could be copyright. Or for that matter, these property can also be in real, personal, or intellectual property. Now, usually royalty also, there are chances that sometimes the royalty would be fixed for so many years, so much. Sometimes royalty can be variable when it would be number of units sold. For each unit sold, you will have to pay the royalty. That time for each unit, it is fixed, but because of your output, the total amount there would be a variation. Now you do have under accounting also. Maybe you will draw, right? Do you have royalty and all? You have. Maybe in your PU you had. After I studied PU, I did this. Oh yeah. Okay. Now all you have to know is how different kind of business happens. For that example, you can take down the Walt Disney or the Sony Entertainment, Warner Brothers, Microsoft, the Apple. All these acts as licensor. Now, which is the one which gives most license nowadays, at least in terms of technology? If we, now we need not have any kind of data for that. Every other company gives its license. Copyright. No, copyright says your Google, right? Every other Android phone you have, the phone hardware will be of somebody else, but the software would be provided from Google company if you have observed it. Imagine how much amount Google might have made out of it. You go, you open your web browser, you have Google there. And Google have come up with application almost everything. And that is where they can provide us freely up to a certain extent. Maybe in that particular market, none of other companies can touch Google right now. Okay. So what can be the merits of licensing? Security, okay. Security in terms of a return, okay. What happens is that it provides a instant, yes, it provide a instant marketplace. Otherwise, now imagine you might have done a licensing for the from Sony Entertainment. Now you did not go behind the market proving your the name you have at your hand. Yes, so provides a instant market and also a guaranteed rent. And all this happens for the licensing at a very negligible investment cost. Now, if at all you would have done it from the scratch without any name, you might have to wait years together to get the profit what you would have got instantly. Yes, some amount you will have to be, pay in the form of fee, but that fee would be very much negligible if at all you would have started from the, beginning, right from acquiring your own name. And the second merit could be the brand recognition, undoubtedly. Okay, now it promotes brand recognition in the market with the use of its products, also processed by individual non-related entities in a marketplace. Now, what do you think? You have Pizza Hut maybe in a food court in your city center, and the taste might be better than of Pizza Hut. You might start your own, pizza selling center. Might be the name would be a pizza center. So what do you think? For which people would go? Undoubtedly, you know, without any hesitation, people tend to go to Pizza Hut. So now licensing is that amount of profit the names in the market without any effort. And also, the merits of this that the licensor enjoys the access to the foreign market without having make any direct investment nor have to incur transportation costs involved in exporting of products. Yes, yes or no? Happens. Now, otherwise, Imagine I have to start myself. I had to go, I had to research, I have to do all those things. Then I have to carry all the goods from here to there. Now our licensee is there. Definitely have to tell him how it has to be done. Then he would be doing it. So what might be the demerits? Yes, only for few peoples. Okay. What is the one main thing? I give my properties. Yes, to you. I tell him how it has to be done. Because me, I have to save the name. See, now when Pizza Hut gives, permission, now it has also to tell the trade secrets, right? For every other food company, there might be something called as their own secret, what we call as secret ingredient. That has to be given. Otherwise, the one who has taken the license, definitely he cannot stand up to the expectation of what it is. Speaking, this is entirely different. We can take into consideration maybe the same entertainment also. Or for that matter, Google itself. Now they have to give some confidential information as to how to do the business. There are chances that after the expiration of this agreement, their licenses themselves become a competition. Okay? Or for that matter, another demerit is also it could be the licensor might lose the control over the quality. Okay? And when there is the licensor loses quality happens. See, now Pizza Hut is there, okay? Has given all its trade secrets. Fine. But the one who has taken the license, he will not be producing pizza up to what expectation it has to be done. What happens? Now whose name is being spoiled? Whose brand value or brand image is being spoiled? The companies. Yes? The company had given the name with the only expectation of their brand image increasing. Fees they would be getting, but in front of what brand image would be in this, the fees is nothing because they have not done any of they have not experienced any of expenses, either of going and get permission, either of starting the business, looking where it has done, nothing. They have just sold their name, correct? But because of the negligence of licensee, sometimes there are chances that the brand image of the company might be spoiled. And as we said, the competition would increase in the market because the same process and the same product would be used. Now, when we speak about licensing and franchising, now, how is it different in terms of channels of foreign direct investment? Now, this franchising and although licensing is somewhat similar, right? But when we speak foreign direct investment, how is it a little bit of difference is there? Yes. Now, under uh, franchising, what happens that usually a significant a significant control over the operation would be given for the franchised product, okay, or the process through which it would be done. But whereas in case of license, what happens is There would be any given, now would be the licensee would be interested the control over all operations and exercising of other activities. All that matters for a license is he pays the royalty and in return he gets to use the product. Now, licensing usually would be done for your intellectual property. Okay, if you see that. Franchising would be done for other products. Yes? Now, not only in terms of food and all the properties, even when it is, garments, your shoes, even those things have the franchising. Might be your Nike. Yes? Now, Nike is the Indian company. Yes? So, there are Indian companies which does give franchising, but this is not only limited for your food or your intellectual properties. It is all kinds of products. Okay. So what might be the motivation for FDI? Now what are the reasons which makes FDI happen? The first dot, undoubtedly it is when you have limitations in domestic growth. When your market is, or maybe it is in the terms of product life cycle, if we speak, might be under domestic market, you have already reached the maturity stage. Okay, under maturity stage what happens is you'd have reached the demand portion of the product to the highest possible quantity. Okay, anymore there wouldn't be any growth. If you have demand, you go on supply. If do not, your product would start coming to the decline stage. Okay. So usually the motivation, the first motivation could be response to limited domestic growth. Okay. So when it is limited domestic growth, when you go for FDI, what happens? You have to market. Maybe if your product very good, acceptable in the new market, there would be increase in the. So definitely when everything goes on well, the profit will increase. Usually it happens when the product in the domestic market has limited access to the market, or there is saturation in the market, or it especially happens when the company's capacity is more than the saturated limit. Only then can I think of entering some other market, right? Now that is to tell I have 6 subjects study. If my capacity is such that I can also manage 6 subjects and some other complement degree, only then will I decide to do it to them. The same in the market. It depends upon my capacity, right? Or the company's capacity. The next one is economics of scale. What is economics of scale? What does it speak of? Highest possible output with minimum of input. That is when you have economics of scale. Okay. Uh, Under this, can you give example where can it happen, or forget about example? How does it happen under economic scale? It is that maybe in one market the labor might be cheap. Maybe in one market the risks might be cheap. So when you consolidate it together, you would be having economics of. For that matter, we can here take the example of Walmart. Now Walmart is what? It is a supervision which works all around the world. Now they have something called as, uh, you know, very much powerful bargaining power. Maybe in terms of suppliers, okay, maybe in terms of customers also, because they need to provide very good quality of. Not only that, they do this work buying directly from the farmers. All this acts as economies of scale for Walmart. Yes. Now this is the one more reason. Now FDA allows for a easy access to foreign research and also knowledge. The big example, we can take that of Indian economy itself, right? Maybe there are some of the companies which very much better intellectual practice. Then compared to their country, here people's skills might be better. Maybe the expenses, especially in terms of human resource, is cheaper compared to that of developed countries. So all those would help for a easy access to foreign research. Now the next one is lowering their production cost. How does this happen? See, what you take down is just take down the side headings if here, because explanation you will have to give. And at the end when it is exam, neither will you remember the side points nor you remember the explanation what I have given. You will write in your own words. But see to that you do study. When it comes to IEE, I do know I've given notes, but please do not sit at the last moment because the notes are so much that each one of it will take you one entire day. There are chapters which has 50 pages, right? Okay, the notes is, but the notes are in the form of text. So read beforehand. It is very easy. You read it once, you will understand. There is nothing in IBE that has to be specifically said. All that is there in terms of general terms. So help yourself, make it easier for yourself. Now speaking of lowering product cost, how it is. So usually, as I said earlier, some market have skilled people, others the process might be cheaper, somewhere resources might be cheaper. Now when we collaborate everything, we analyze everything, we decide where it has to be produced, where the labor is necessary, where it has to be produced, the resources are necessary. If you do all those things, the production cost will tend to decrease. Okay. Now the next one is the repercussions of trade barriers. What does this mean? What do you mean by is the time up? That the time is up? Okay, now this repercussions we shall see in next class. Or shall we continue? Four are there. We shall continue and finish it off. I shall tell it very easily. What repercussion of trade barriers? Now, what happens in trade barriers? Trade barriers are nothing but it is it acts as a limitation for your export, right? When a country starts exporting more and more, the country would be putting some kind of barriers, restrictions. So herein, what happens? Now, if at all you are an exporter, imagine you are exporting to some country. Now that country might put a restriction on you. Okay, that is a problem. But here, what happens? Reparation simply means you are against what is happened. Now, under FDI, what happens? You go, you start your business there. So, is there any kind of exporting? No. Can they put any restriction? No. Correct? So, FDI acts as a repercussion for trade barriers. Now, profit is all yours, whether you're exporting, whether it go in business there. Profit belongs to you. But then if you're exporter and if you tend to do more and more exporting, sometimes there are chances might that trade barriers can come in the way of your business. So that problem would be solved. Yes. The last two is response to appreciation in foreign countries' currencies. Yes, there are sometimes chances that you might produce in the expenses might be in the currency of one country and the profit you would be getting would be in terms of another currency. Now imagine the expenses would be in cheaper currency and the income would be higher valued currency. What happens? There would be more and more profit. Correct? First of all, the labor would be, second of all, the currency in which the labor expenses you will pay, that would be cheaper. So, still more reduction in your when you sell, what happens? The value of the currency would be more, the profit you would be getting would be more. And the last one is international diversification. Now, earlier we had this concept of Eastern management, Western management. Now it is global management, isn't it? Now there is a lot of diversification. You being working MNC, you cannot tell that you not know the other cultures. Correct? You tend to know everything that is present in the globe. And the last one is there is always increase in timely knowledge and updates. So here within we shall wrap up for your FDI. In next class we shall see for foreign institutional investment and your foreign private investments. Okay. Maybe with that we shall wind up fourth chapter and we'll move forward with fifth, sixth, seventh and eighth chapter. And eighth chapter I wouldn't do. Eighth chapter is on your head. Okay? Fifth, sixth, seventh I would be doing it. Thank you class for your patience listening.